And Kelly, that 200 estimate may actually be low. There are some numbers as high as 700 that may have lost their lives less than a year ago. But with COVID and everything else that is going on, this has not gotten the attention it deserved. This, on some level, would be the most expensive natural disaster in American history if it was only counted as that. Let's go into exactly what happened. If you forget, Winter Storm Uri hit, weather dropped for a week, power prices surged to records. That cut down and shut down a lot of power generation. 4.5 million Texans lost power to their home. It's its own grid. They couldn't bring in power from other states, and so you saw 200 plus lose their lives. Water got shut off. In some cases, people did not have water in their homes for weeks or even months because the pipes burst. So the question is, that happened. Afterwards, a lot of finger pointing. Who was to blame? Regulation, wind, coal, like the power plant behind us, where literally the stack froze so solid, Kelly, that you actually couldn't get the bulldozer in to put it up, or natural gas. The answer to that question is yes. Everything actually failed. A 100-page report at the University of Texas at Austin laying blame everywhere. The question is, has anything actually changed from then to now or this winter that could prevent it again? We spoke with the mayor of Houston. He also previously served in the Texas legislature, and he really said, no, but they're working on it.
Within that bill, there are at least $50 billion for electric grid. We are hoping to pull down some of those dollars for the state of Texas.
So, Kelly, there you go. That is, of course, the infrastructure bill that Mayor Turner is talking about. And there's a lot of talk right now, and that's the problem. There's not a lot of action. One thing they are doing is they are proposing to make sure that natural gas relay stations are deemed critical infrastructure, an important distinction, because that means power companies, when they panic, like ERCOT did last February, can't shut that down, which means the power plants can at least keep getting natural gas. Because remember, they didn't shut down because they were cold. They shut down because the power got shut off at the relay stations, so they couldn't get the fuel they need. So the short answer is no, nothing has really changed. But of course, there's a lot of talk, and winter is coming.
You know, the two factors, Brian, that I've often heard kind of primarily blamed are that there was no winterization of these systems for obvious reasons. But if you winterize an entire state's power grid, that's incredibly expensive. Hopefully people are doing it locally as much as they possibly can right now, but it's really hard to do if it's not built that way. The second factor is that Texas has its own power grid, so other states have power sharing opportunities. But since the whole state was in a deep freeze, there was nowhere else to get power. I don't know if they've changed it so that they can at all kind of import power if they need to.
Yeah. They have not. And in fact, there's not even really a discussion about that. Now, to be fair, there are a couple little pipes here and there that connect other states, but those actually froze and shut down too because of lack of relay power. So it probably wouldn't have helped that much, but you're right. Texas, well, Texas does what Texas does, and Texas is its own thing, and they're very proud of that. And they kind of keep FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, off their backs. But you're right, they could not bring in that emergency power. I'll leave you with just kind of one sort of anecdote about where we stand and where it comes to money. And I reached out, by the way, to NRG and Vistra, the big energy companies, and they said, you know, we're working on winterization, which is this. To install generators at the water pumping stations would be about $200 million across the state. I mean, these days it doesn't sound like a whole lot of money. If you did that, you might be able to ensure the power and the water could stay on so people at least could have water to maybe make soup if they were able to have some heat to light it. It's all connected, and of course it all comes down to money, which is why CNBC and we are here and talking about this, and will be today throughout the day and on the news with Shepard Smith tonight as well. And like I said, Kelly, at the top, this is not counted as a pure natural disaster because there's a lot of human error as well, machinery error. But if it was just considered a natural disaster, it would be the most expensive natural disaster in the history of America, at nearly $200 billion, with a B, in property damage, and yet they're still just talking about it. It could be a tough winter. Let's hope for good weather. Again, you're praying for good weather, not a strategy.